Clemson Hotline is on the air, a one-hour talk show giving Clemson fans a power hour of Tiger sports talk. Clemson Hotline is presented by y'all.com and brought to you by Amtrak. Clemson Hotline is direct from Tiger Country on the network of radio stations across the great state of South Carolina, and as always, a podcast edition of our show is available for download in iTunes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back into the program. I'm your host, Lawton Swan. Glad to be here with you once again, live on the front page of Vocal and on TigerNet.com. That's VOKLE.com. Check us out there. Number one rated broadcaster, hanging on to that crown for just a little while longer, I'm sure, as we are getting pressed from the backside a little bit by the Mert Show. But you know what? We continue to roll on and stay at the top. We've got Patrick and Chris already checking in with us in the chat room. I hope you'll come on in and join us as well. It's a great way to spend some time with some of your good friends and Clemson faithful, if you will, who come back each and every week. And I have to agree, the BCS, once again, no love for your Clemson Tigers. We got a whole lot to get to, recapping a big victory over Virginia Tech, an underperforming Virginia Tech team. But I'll tell you what, if you'd have told Clemson fans going into that game last season that you would have defeated Virginia Tech by this time the next year 3 times, one of which was for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship, and then handling them pretty squarely at home, I think we'd all be satisfied. We've got a whole lot to get to, though. Stay with us right after these messages. Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
Want to hear the sound of hassle-free traveling?
All aboard!
Amtrak takes the hassle out of traveling to over 500 destinations. You can stretch out in a spacious seat, relax in a sleeping car, and enjoy a hot meal in the dining car. And for those who want to kick back and take in the scenery, go right ahead. For everything you get on Amtrak, the one thing you won't get is this. So whether you're going to a family reunion or an away game, make it a whole lot nicer on Amtrak. Book your trip today at Amtrak.com or call 1-800-USA-RAIL.
All aboard!
Stay tuned for a $1 million Dream Body announcement.
Do you want to lose weight? How about toning and sculpting your entire body in just 6 to 8 minutes a day? You've seen it on TV with Chuck Norris and Christy Brinkley. They love the Total Gym. Well, we're out to prove once and for all that the Total Gym melts off the pounds better than anything else on the market in just 6 to 8 minutes a day. So if you want to try it, give us a call, because we're going to let up to 1 million people from across the nation try the Total Gym for just $1. If you call right now, 1-800-335-2589. That's right. The first callers right now from this station get to try the famous Total Gym for 30 days for just $1. The Total Gym will have you in the best shape of your life in just 6 to 8 minutes a day. Whether you want to firm and slenderize or build and sculpt your body, the Total Gym is the one machine that does it all. The first 50 callers from this station right now can try Total Gym for just $1, and shipping is free. Call now, 1-800-335-2589. That's 1-800-335-2589. 1-800-335-2589.
G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove.
Ladies, how many pounds have you gained since you turned 40? If you're like most women, probably 10 or more. But hundreds of thousands of women have discovered the secret to losing weight after 40. It's called Amberen, and it's the only product on the market today clinically proven to cause sustained weight loss for women over 40. With no special diets or exercise programs, you can try Amberen absolutely risk-free and get a 1-month supply free by calling 1-800-361-2351. The leading cause of weight gain in women over 40 is hormonal imbalance. balance. Until you balance your hormones, losing weight can be practically impossible. Amberin balances hormones naturally, so the extra weight can fall right off. Yes, even that stubborn tummy fat. Plus, Amberin relieves other symptoms of hormonal imbalance, like hot flashes, night sweats, low libido, sleeplessness, and more. Be one of the first 50 callers right now, and they'll send you a complimentary risk-free trial with a 30-day supply free. Free supplies are limited, so call now. 1-800-361-2351. That's 1-800-361-2351.
Clemson Tigers, we coming for you.
Yeah. Go forward. That's how we do it, baby. Little tailgate party. Y'all better come on. It's going down.
We about to back it on up in the parking lot. Got the beer on ice and the green.
And that's what we've been telling everybody on Twitter, on Facebook. Come on in. The water's fine. The guys in the chat room, they'll treat you good. And I tell you what, it was an exciting time for all Clemson fans to get a big victory over Virginia Tech, 38-17 this past weekend in Death Valley. The 11th straight home win. That right now is a Clemson record. Now, it's not the record for the longest unbeaten streak at home, but it does set the record for the longest undefeated streak or consecutive win streak at home. Back in the days of the old tie ball games, which were atrocious, I think everybody out there hated games that ended in ties. I know I despised them growing up and couldn't figure out why college football couldn't put together some semblance of a overtime period. But Clemson did have a 25-game unbeaten streak from 1980 to 1984 at home, going 23-0-2. Chris in the chat room says Military Appreciation Day was awesome, and it was. There were some moments, I think, though, that really stirred the pot a little bit for a lot of people. And I never want to get political on this program by any means. Look, you have the right in this great country of ours to vote however you wish. And I will not tell you how to do so. But I certainly thought that it was a little bit disappointing, I think, when the fan base booed the commander-in-chief during some of the festivities there. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't even want to go much further than just to say I felt a little bit uncomfortable with it as an American. As a Clemson fan, I think you decide how you want to go with that, and there are plenty of unpatriotic people out there for sure, but I really didn't think that it was the right thing to do, regardless if it was a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, a Green, Tea Party, whoever was the president of the United States. I was a little uncomfortable with it. Nathan says he felt it was too disrespectful, even if you don't vote for him. That's right. You get the opportunity to speak your mind at the polls. And I'm just going to leave it at that. It has nothing to do with my beliefs, your beliefs. It's just the moment and the way I think a lot of people felt about it. Chris says he's voting for Clemson Tom for president. So there's Chris had no problem with what happened, I guess. Anyway, hey, I tell you what, feels really good, though, to get that victory, especially when you consider that this was a game where the offense underperformed and underwhelmed early, a couple of sacks in just the first possession. Really, the first two snaps when Taj Boyd was in the game, because, of course, the second snap from scrimmage was the Wildcat. There were 2 sacks. So you start off with a punt, and you know that the ultimate goal for this offense and Chad Morris this year has been to not have to punt on their first possession, be able to take the ball down the field. Unfortunately, Virginia Tech was very successful in stopping Clemson in that regard. 5 sacks on the day. There had only been 10 sacks up until this point in the season. Now, some of those, as Chad Morris has said, when they watch the video, maybe some of those will come down to the fact that Taj Boyd perhaps held the ball a little bit too long, maybe didn't make some smart plays like he's made in the past to get rid of the football. But all in all, when you think about that fact and you really examine that for a minute, to come away with a victory the way Clemson did with the sputtering, very slow offense early on is something to say. Considering also that this defense has not played well. Furman, Ball State, Auburn, you name the team, they've gone up and down the field. Boston College went up and down the field for a while against Clemson, Florida State. But finally, the defense stood up just a little bit when you needed them. Created some turnovers. In fact, got an interception return for a touchdown. And does anything light up a stadium more than an interception return for a score? I'm not sure that it does. Jonathan Meek's interception, his second of the day, that 74-yard interception return, was a thing of beauty. And it's that moment where you feel the crowd realize the interceptions occurred, so there's this initial roar. Then they get a little bit louder as they realize that maybe he's taking it to the house. And then the place is going absolutely bananas when he's running into the end zone. It was pretty exciting, I think, to see our defense finally stepping up in that way and really making Logan Thomas look like what he is, and that's an average at best quarterback in this league. And maybe the pundits out there don't buy into that fact yet. I did tell you, though, on TigerNet Talk, he can throw the ball across the mountain like Uncle Rico. You saw it. He dropped back and slung one, about 70 yards? No problem off the back leg, just slinging it. There were some issues for Virginia Tech as well in the kicking game. You know, that's been one of their staples for a long, long time. Punt, return, specialty. I remember a few years back, Virginia Tech just lighting Clemson up with punt returns, just killing us at home. Instead, you get a bounce, kicks off a Virginia Tech player, you get the ball, have an opportunity to score. You know, the numbers weren't great offensively when you look at the final stat sheet. You talk about how Clemson moved the ball up and down the field. You know, the total yards in this game, 295, would seem to be disappointing. But when you factor in how frequently Clemson was in a short field situation because Virginia Tech continued to turn the ball over or make bad plays, it was good to see Clemson pull away. 31 points for the offense, 38 overall, though, with that defensive score, and Clemson continues to roll. You've got to feel good about where you are right now, I think, with the final games coming up this Thursday, though. Wake Forest, that's a big road game, a big road test. Anytime you go on the road midweek after a game against a team like Virginia Tech that may have possibly worn down or even injured a little bit Taj Boyd's shoulder. He says he's going to be okay, but we've got a whole lot more to get to here in the program. Greg Wallace of the Anderson Independent Mail will join us right after these messages. I want you to take part with us, though. If you have a question for Greg in the chat room, drop it in or even give it to us as a text question or tweet to us, #TNTalk. And make sure you follow us on Twitter. We're at Clemson Sports. We bring you Clemson news, notes, information, and more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're sitting at home and you're thinking, how can I get my Clemson information? I don't take the newspaper anymore. It's all right. We're available. We're online. At Clemson Sports on Twitter. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Greg Wallace of the Anderson Independent Mail.
South Carolina Low Country.
This is Coach Dabo Swinney of the Clemson Tigers, and you're listening to the Clemson Hotline on the John C. Calhoun Radio Network.
Welcome back into the Clemson Hotline. I'm your host, Lawton Swan. It's not often that people clamor for a commercial, but Chris Carey in the chat room wants to hear the Duty Calls commercial. And that jingle is going to go down as one of the all-time greats, probably right beside, oddly enough, the old plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is, Alka-Seltzer commercial. But something about plop, plop and the Duty Calls commercial bothers me just a little bit, but we will roll on. The chat room is saying they love the Duty Calls commercial. Well, let me tell you what, when you want to know about Clemson sports, there are only few guys out there that I go to, and I'm telling you, this guy is one of the top ones. Greg Wallace of the Anderson Independent Mail and orangeandwhite.com joins us here again on the Clemson Hotline. Greg, as always, welcome back into the program, and I tell you what, you do a fantastic job. I'm not even kidding you when I tell you this. 3 times a week, my nephew gets in touch with me and says, have you seen what Greg Wallace wrote this week? Because it's phenomenal.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Happy to do it and keep the Clemson fans informed. Absolutely.
Well, Greg, this Clemson team this year, they have clearly been a juggernaut on the offensive side of the ball, moving the ball up and down on every single team they've gone up against. But in this game, because of field position and some really good defensive play, maybe the numbers aren't quite what many people had hoped, but Clemson with a victory 38-17 over Virginia Tech and becoming bowl eligible, and no one even mentions it. What does that say about maybe where this program is right now?
Yeah, I think that really says a lot. I mean, obviously nobody's exactly clamoring for the Independence Bowl. I mean, obviously it's different than, say, like a Duke situation. I watched the game last night, Duke and North Carolina, and the Duke fans obviously went crazy for that great fourth down play to beat Carolina because they hadn't been to a bowl in 18 years. But I think Dabo Swinney is really building a different kind of culture here at Clemson. I mean, he talked yesterday about it, the fact that they'd won 11 straight home games, tied for the longest home winning streak in program history, and that's just another part of what they're trying to do. So I think that's really key. I think that obviously it was normally it's kind of strange a 3-touchdown win over Virginia Tech would be a real cause for celebration, but yesterday it was just kind of like, well, we did this, that sort of thing. It wasn't, but it was more ho hum and anything, and there were maybe some concerns about the offense, which tells you a lot about how far the offense has come in the last few years.
Now, you've obviously seen the latest BCS rankings, and I've tried to not be the person who looks at these rankings and says, well, that really dictates where your team is or how you evaluate them. Are there really 17 teams right now better than Clemson in America? I don't know that there are. In fact, I'd take my chances against just about anybody. But it's the system we're kind of left with. But what's your take on what you see on a week-in and week-out basis from maybe the BCS, maybe even some of the other polls out there, and the fact that maybe do you buy into this SEC hype? I guess that's what I'm getting into.
I mean, obviously the SEC has proved its worth. I mean, the fact that they've won the last 6 BCS national championships, and they're I believe they have some teams that are pretty strong. I haven't looked at the latest BCS poll, but I'm assuming Alabama's number 1 and Florida's right up there as well. They seem like they kind of knock each other off the block every week. They really have been, and they've proven in the national scene. So, unless your team is in the top 10 of the BCS, I don't put a lot of stock into it. Really, I mean, Clemson, I think, was 18th in the BCS. I don't put a lot of stock in that. I don't think it matters really unless you're battling for a national championship or battling for one of those BCS title contention spots. It is kind of strange, though. It's interesting to see how much the strength of schedule and the perceived strength affects teams like Clemson, Florida State. I think that Clemson was, I believe, 13th in the Coaches Poll, 14th in the AP poll. Which AP is not part of the BCS, but they're similar in the Harris poll. But they were 29th in the core of the computer rankings, which really drags them down. I think Florida State was 25th, which drags them down consequently. So I think that there is a certain perception in terms of conference strength and how it relates to your conference that really does seem to matter in the BCS. And luckily, it's only around for 2 more years.
Exactly. Well, Sammy Watkins comes back in this game, 8 catches, 84 yards. He doesn't get in the end zone, but you could begin to feel his impact. And there were a couple of times where he was maybe just a step or two away from turning a play into something really electric. How good can he be this year? Do you think he can get back up to the level that he played at last season, or has this rough, slow start maybe to this year thrown a little kink in what his expectations were for the year?
I don't think his stats are going to show it, obviously, because he had such a slow first half of the season. He missed 3 games due to suspension and missed the Boston College game with his illness. But I think he did take a big step forward yesterday. I think that, like you said, you started to see signs of the old Sammy Watkins, a guy that really took the nation by storm as a freshman last year. There were several deep balls that just missed, and, like you said, he was maybe a juke or a step away from breaking a lot of longer games. And I think part of that is the fact that he had the open week to kind of get healthy and get some of his strength back again. He was not himself, and that's something Chad Morris had said. Essentially, I think he lost probably about 10 pounds due to the illness, and he's kind of gotten back on track. And also, I think another factor is the fact that Nuke Hopkins is having such a good season now. Maybe Sammy talked about how maybe some of the one-on-one coverages that he was getting as a freshman, Nuke was getting now, and then maybe the tables would turn a little bit. And when you get those two going as well as they can be, along with Brandon Ford, Andre Ellington, and some of the other guys in this offense, I think it's a really dangerous situation for opposing defense. I think that the problem really isn't that Sammy's lost any visibility. It was just a combination of factors, and I think that you could see that come together for him in the second half, definitely.
Scott in the chat room wants to know, when do you think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to get some serious national attention?
I think if he keeps it up, he can certainly start getting attention. I think you'll see him certainly be a finalist or semifinalist for the Blitnikoff Awards, given the nation's best wide receiver. I think he does. He's kind of a quiet guy, and he does have a little bit of a perception problem. It's kind of funny. I was watching the Boston College game, the opening to the Boston College game the other day, and they were going on and on about a player number 6, how great Nuke Hopkins was, and showing him on the sideline. Well, it wasn't Nuke Hopkins, it was Tavares Barnes, defensive end, who also wears number 6. I thought that kind of summed it up. I mean,
exactly.
I think he's a good kid. He's a little quiet with the media. He doesn't talk to us very often, but when he came in and talked to us last week in the West Zone, he was very engaging. He was self-deprecating, even in basically talking about what he wants to do. But I think that if he keeps it up and maybe keeps putting good performances together, you will see him get the kind of attention he deserves towards the end of the season.
Do you think the play of this defense in Saturday's game against Virginia Tech was more so the fact that Virginia Tech maybe isn't all that good on offense, or do you really buy into the fact that maybe Brent Venables and this defense are starting to maybe find their groove?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I was not real impressed with Logan Thomas, and obviously Virginia Tech does dearly miss David Wilson's with the New York Giants right now. I think that they're struggling to find that reliable back in the backfield right there. But I see signs of improvement. I thought the tackling was a little bit better. I thought the downfield coverage, pass coverage for the most part was a little bit better. I think that they had a better grasp on some of the fundamentals. I think some of the young defensive linemen, like a guy like DJ Reader and Corey Crawford, are coming on a little bit, and Malachi Goodman even had a sack, so that's big for him. I think that they feel like there's progress being made, and they can be a better team down the stretch. I think that's definitely a factor for them. I would be concerned about the secondary depth. Darius Robinson obviously is out at least until the bowl game with a fracture in his ankle. He obviously went off yesterday in the cart in an air cast. It wasn't maybe quite as serious as it looked, but still pretty serious enough to keep him out for the last regular season games. But so there's not a lot of depth in the secondary. But I think that the defense is steadily improving. I think there is a learning curve for Brent Venables' defense, even though it's simpler than Kevin Steele's defense, and they're starting to kind of get more of a handle on it.
Well, you talked about Darius Robinson, and just before he went down, he read a play perfectly, a little screen pass out there in the flats, and had an opportunity for a pick six. It did feel bad, I should say, to see him go down. But talk about the play of Jonathan Meeks. I mean, really stepping up. That's a secondary that has been much maligned, not just in the media but by the fan base. Maybe they don't get as much help up front, but you said so much just a moment ago. Those guys at the front have really made an impact, at least in this past week's game. Maybe we'll continue to see that. But what do you think about Jonathan Meeks' play this past weekend and that big 74-yard interception return?
I thought it was definitely a big game for him. He's one of those guys that has struggled somewhat. I mean, he's had some tackling issues and made several plays against Georgia Tech where he missed a tackle that turned into big yardage. But I thought he's a good ball hawk. He was in the right place at the right time on Saturday, and obviously he has the speed, as he showed going down the sidelines for that touchdown return. I think that they're going to have to rely on him and Rashard Hall a lot more, and Travis Blanks a lot more, because those guys are going to be the safeties going forward down the stretch. I realize Robert Smith is back there. We haven't heard much from him. But, I mean, you got those three in secondary, and then you got Bashad Breeland and Xavier Brewer and Gary Peters as the primary corners, and Cortez Davis will be counted upon for some more contributions as well going forward. So secondary is thin, so it is important that the guys they have, especially guys like Meeks and Brewer and Hall, the seniors, step forward and play better down the stretch.
Well, obviously, when you look down the road just a little bit, and this is Greg Wallace, by the way, of the Anderson Independent Mail. I meant to say that just a moment ago, and Greg, I don't mean to not introduce you to the people every time. I know some folks who listen to the program a lot are very familiar with your voice, but Greg does a fantastic job. And, Greg, when I look over at the Coastal Division right now and I see the Duke Blue Devils sitting there on top, and I look at their schedule, and they've got a bunch of tough games coming up. Of course, Florida State and Clemson, Georgia Tech, and Miami. For all we know, they're liable to lose the final 4 games of the season, but they're really throwing the ball around. Right now, Coastal Division up for grabs. Who do you have coming out of the Coastal playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference championship game?
Yeah, as strange as it sounds, I think that Duke-Miami game on November 24th is going to really be a huge game. I believe it's in Wallace Wade Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a massive game. And who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? But yeah, like you said, I really like the job that Duke has done. David Cutcliffe is slowly building a pretty impressive program there. Sean Renfrey is a really good quarterback, and he has some good weapons to throw to. I think that Miami will have their opportunities down the stretch. I thought they played Florida State pretty well for about 3 quarters last night before Florida State kind of turned in the Jets and got away from it at the end. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be stunned to see Duke in the Coastal Division and come out of that with the title. And what a story that would be if the Blue Devils go to Charlotte to play Virginia Tech. To play Florida State or Clemson.
Yeah, no, I knew exactly what you meant, but that would be, and that's kind of what my next question was before I get you out of here. You might not make a whole lot of friends with this answer, but this past weekend, Miami gave Florida State a little bit of a test early. Looking ahead at the remaining games for Florida State, of course, they've got Duke coming up this weekend. Then they go to Virginia Tech. That's a Thursday night game. And then they play at Maryland, and then, of course, wrap up the season with Florida. But just a couple of conference games remaining after this weekend against Duke. Is there an opportunity left? Can Virginia Tech, I guess that's the biggest question, can Virginia Tech knock them off at home on a Thursday night, or do you think Florida State makes it to Charlotte?
I think they passed their biggest test last night, personally. I was not real impressed with what I saw of Virginia Tech offensively or defensively. Obviously, it's a different situation. I know Lane Stadium gets really loud and gets really excited, especially with Thursday night games. And Florida State, obviously, is not the most, trustworthy team on the road as they showed at NC State. Anything can happen. And that's what, in the ACC, anything can happen, I think. So Maryland has a good defense, but I don't think they have the offensive firepower to hang with Florida State. So I think Clemson fans certainly have hope. There's certainly reason to be excited, but I would certainly not count on getting any help from the rest of the ACC in terms of hoping Florida State gets the loss.
Greg Wallace of orangeandwhite.com will get you out of here on this last question. Clemson Tom says, at the next karaoke event, can he sing a duet with you?
We'll see. I do some karaoke from time to time, so perhaps I'll do a little country, a little bit of rock and roll, maybe. So
nice.
If he gets me in there, maybe I can do duets. Yeah.
All right, Greg. Take care, man. We'll have you on real soon on the Clemson Hotline.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, Greg Wallace, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic job he does covering the Clemson Tigers, and apparently a karaoke legend. I'd love to go head-to-head, though. If you were at Clemson for the 7 years from 1995 to 2002, there was a mean karaoke machine at TD's. He went by the name of Lawton Swan. I'll just leave it at that. We'll be back with more right here on the Clemson Hotline.
Everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981.
Enjoy the Clemson football season at Seasons by the Lake Restaurant. Tiger Tailgate on the Terrace at Seasons Restaurant will be held every Clemson football game day, rain or shine, home or away, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for those day games and noon to midnight for the evening kickoffs. Enjoy a large screen TV, a Bloody Mary and mimosa bar, specialty drinks, and a great tailgate menu, all on the Seasons Terrace. For more information, call 656-7444 or visit their Facebook page, facebook.com/Seasons by the Lake. I hope to see you on the terrace.
We scoop the boot, dutycalls.com. When nobody else will do it, dutycalls.com. To make that dog poop go away, call or click for a free quote today.
When nature calls, we answer. To get a free quote for dog poop removal, go to dutycalls.com now.
DOODYCalls. Dutycalls.com.
In the Midlands area, dial 1-800-DUTY-CALLS. They're number 1 and number 2.
All right, Flo, so the key to safe pest removal is staying calm.
Okay.
Says here this lady's got a badger in her attic.
Oh, I love badgers. Oh, sorry. Calm. There he is! Come here, little buddy. I thought he wanted a hug.
Badgers don't really hug.
Not yet. Oh, Badger.
Insuring your business vehicles with Progressive is like having Flo on the road with you. Low down payments, great discounts, and flexible billing options. Now that's Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. United Financial Casualty Company and Affiliates.
I just sneaked into my kids' rooms and took temperatures while they're sleeping, thanks to my Exergen thermometer. All I did was swipe their foreheads for a few seconds. It didn't even wake them up. My sister, the nurse, told us about the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer, and it's the best. Real value for the money and truly a lifesaver. Now I don't have to deal with ears or rears, if you know what I mean.
I'm Dr. Frank Pompey, founder of Exergen. Thousands of hospitals and clinics rely on temporal scanners. I'm confident you will too.
The Exergen temporal scanner. Pick one up at Costco and other fine retailers, or visit us at Exergen.com.
Shaquille O'Neal for Icy Hot.
If you've got pain, you need the patch.
The Icy Hot Patch. Powerful, targeted, fast-acting pain relief that stays put without the mess. Icy to dull the pain, hot to relax it away. In a variety of sizes, from back, shoulders, knees, even arthritis. So you're covered whenever and wherever you're hurt. Stop pain right at the source with Icy Hot Patches.
Pain's no match for the Icy Hot Patch.
For temporary topical pain relief, use only as directed.
Are you a landowner who owns more than 10 acres that's interested in selling timber or pulpwood off your property? Cross Creek Timber is a full-service timber procurement company that buys standing saw timber and pulpwood. They're staffed with professional licensed foresters and fully insured with both workers' comp and general liability insurance. Let Cross Creek Timber develop the appropriate harvesting plan for your property and answer any questions regarding forest management. Call today, 864-517-3620. That's 864-517-3620 for your free woodland evaluation, or visit www.crosscreektimber.com.
Hey, sports fans, listen up. If you're a fan of the Gamecocks, the Citadel Bulldogs, or you just simply get chills from the Tigers running down the hill, then CRM Sports has a weekly show just for you. Even if Cocky and the Tiger make your blood boil, then just tune in for a good laugh. Each week, Gamecock fans hear the CRM Sports show Carolina Crowline broadcasting live from downtown Columbia. And Clemson fans enjoy the Clemson Hotline broadcasting live just miles away from their beloved Death Valley. It's fun, independent, objective, and informative talk about your favorite college team. To listen to the various CRM Sports Collegiate Sports Talk podcasts, visit iTunes and search for CRM Sports, and the action-packed shows will be just a free click away. CRM Sports. Check them out in iTunes and get all the inside info on your favorite Southern team. CRM Sports. We know Southern sports.
Welcome back into the Clemson Hotline. Just recapping the game. We just had Greg Wallace on. Clemson 38, Virginia Tech 17. And last season, of course, in the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game, it was Clemson 38, Virginia Tech 10. So an eerily similar score for your Clemson Tigers, and one in which, after Virginia Tech got on the board early, Clemson really had a chance to get down even worse as Virginia Tech had driven the ball down. They had a 3rd and 1. Bashad Breeland really busted up a play that ended up losing a couple of yards. Frank Beamer rolled the dice. The next play, the defense really stood up. And that was the moment in that game for a lot of people where I think you felt like, Virginia Tech's feeling a little bit of pressure here, that they don't feel like 10 points is enough. And we kind of knew that. But they could have taken a pretty easy field goal there and expanded their lead. 2, when they went for that, they were saying, we're going for the jugular, and it didn't occur. And then Clemson, this momentum just came and built in the stadium. The place went crazy. And you could question whether or not people came out flat because of the Military Appreciation Day and all the pomp and circumstance that went around that. I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but I can tell you this. At that moment in the game, you could feel the switch flip just a little bit. And I think when that occurred, when that turnover on downs occurred early in that first quarter, you got a real good indication of the type of intensity that Clemson's defense was playing with, and I felt really good about them. Now, we did get an email into the program this past week from Kevin. He says, I'm curious, as many fans I've talked to are, as to what it means when we hear that the defense is too complicated or hard to pick up. How is Venable's defense different from Kevin Steele's and other coordinators' scheme around the country? Is it necessary for a defense to be so complex? So who do you think has the simplest that works the best? You know, that's a great question. And in my mind, when I start thinking about defenses, and I've never been criticized of being the game day guru by any means, and I'm definitely more of an offensive mind than a defensive mind. If I was a coach, I'd be an offensive coordinator first and foremost. Put it this way, when I'm playing defense on the NCAA games for Xbox or whatever, I basically just pick a random defense and hope for the best, because it's a little bit difficult for me to even get a read on what the offense is trying to do. But what I think people mean a lot of times when they talk about the complicated nature of some of these defenses, and for me, from what I see, and I'll throw that out to the guys in the chat room as well, what is their thoughts on it. But the thing that I see is this. Last year, 9 times out of 10, before the snap, we had guys looking around everywhere, except for where they should have been looking is at recognizing what was going on the field. They were worried about what was coming in from the sidelines. Now, maybe that's not complex to you, but to me it is, because if I'm a defender, I want to be able to, if I'm supposed to be playing man, I want to have my eyes on my guy. I want to be ready so I can check the backfield, see what's going on. If there's an indication that it's a run, and it is definitely a run, and it's not play action, that I can get involved in the play. I've never played that all. I never played linebacker. I did play a little bit of cornerback in my day. But I think you really start getting into what makes defenses complex. And from my perspective, it's always been that switch right there just before the snap. Because then you're trying to get a message to about 7 guys of what the change has been made. What's the difference? And if you have one guy who's in the wrong spot, big plays occur. Now, the guys in the chat room are still talking about, we've got to tackle better. I see Nathan talking about you've got to make sure that you're constantly attacking. Tackle, tackle, tackle. That's the biggest thing I see in the chat room right now. And it kind of reminds me, unfortunately, what the guys in the chat room are saying as to what we hear a lot of times when people are maybe sitting there with their wives or whatever at the games and somebody's screaming, tackle the man with the ball. Tackle the man with the ball. I don't know about you, but that's always a little bit odd. Stay with us, though. We got to head out to a short break. We'll be back with more Clemson Hotline right after this. Welcome back into the Clemson Hotline. We send it out. If you're with us, go to vocal.com, VOKLE.com. Come on in. Enjoy the chat room. Scott and Clemson Tom, Josh, Patrick. Got a bunch of great guys in the chat room giving all the good, juicy details and their thoughts on the game. It's a great way to participate with us. And Nathan asked a question. We popped it up on the board for everybody to see. Nathan says, anyone else notice every time we huddle and quick break, it's a pitch to the right? Opponents will too. I'm reminded, Nathan, of back in the day, I believe it was Danny Ford, and I don't remember the game that this occurred in, but Danny Ford was meticulous at breaking down teams. And he found that there was an offensive lineman for Maryland or NC State or someone that when it was a running play, he always put his knuckles down on the ground. And when it was a pass play, he always put the tips of his fingers down to push himself up, I guess, into a pass blocking stance. Well, Ford picked up on that. And in that ball game, after the game, I think the opponent's head coach said it seemed like they knew whether we were going to run or pass on every single play. And they did. Now, I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed that that's the case. But you're right. I mean, if you are doing that enough, teams will pick up on it. However, if you're a good offensive coordinator and you know it as well, then at that one moment when you really need a big play, that's when you huddle up, quick break, and pitch it to the left. That's all I can say about that. It was Frank Beamer. All right, good, Chris. I like a man who can fact check me on that. Frank Beamer is who Coach Ford was talking about. And supposedly that's a true story. I've always heard it my whole life. I guess I could be just spreading an urban legend here, but that's the story that I've always heard. And you know that there are moments in games where you see a formation and you go, oh, hold up, this is a quick screen to the left or whatever the play is going to be. And it sure is from time to time. You just never know. But I can tell you in that regard, film study is key. And if you have a coach who is dedicated to it, which I think Chad Morris is, I think that's why you see so many plays be so effective for him. He sets a lot of these defenses up. He just sets them up and he rips their hearts out. And it's a good feeling. And for you as a Clemson fan, I think you've got to be excited still about the future, even if you continue to look at DeAndre Hopkins, 3 catches, 68 yards and a score, almost 2 touchdown grabs in that game for DeAndre. You think about the future without him maybe. That's something I think we have to start realizing a little bit. This team still, next year, minus Ellington, minus probably DeAndre Hopkins, is going to be a lethal offense. I have no doubt in my mind. As long as we've got Chad Morris as the offensive coordinator, he's going to find a way to take advantage of what the defense is giving you, and he does a fantastic job doing it from the ground. Again, that's what's most impressive to me. Now, speaking of the defense, how about the play of Spencer Shuey, or as someone on TigerNet called him today, Chewbacca? I'll tell you what, Spencer Shuey, last season, a couple of times you could see a little bit of high-level effort and energy from that guy, maybe some bad angles, maybe not the fastest guy out there. But in that ball game this past weekend against Virginia Tech, he was all over the field and really I thought played well, tackled well, hit hard. He was in on 57 snaps, 15 tackles. And that's big-time defensive play for him. I was glad to see him getting involved. And, that's going to push a guy like Stephon Anthony, who only got 22 snaps in the game against Virginia Tech. That's going to push a kid like Anthony, who does need to improve, who I think does need to put on just a little bit more weight to maybe getting himself into better game shape, maybe getting a little bit better in film study, something we just talked about. But I can tell you this, it's definitely good to see a guy like Spencer Shuey really getting in the mix. We've got a caller. We're going to send it out real quick to the phone lines.
Hey, bud. Hey, enjoy it very much, your show. Hey, listen, this is Buddy up in Inman, South Carolina. Hey, listen, I know this has been a question been asked 1,000 times over the years, but what's the deal with us not being able to get a night game? I mean, we're spending millions of dollars on these jumbotrons. Granted, they're nice to look at them and everything, but, it's a different effect at night. I just wondering if, I've always heard that it was all the faults of the networks and everything else, but, I got to kind of believe the athletic department throws in their 10 cents worth as well. I don't know the more exciting place to be and more intimidating place for opponents than Death Valley at night. South Carolina and a lot of the SEC schools play their games in the evening, or a good portion of their schedule in the evening, and whether it's on TV or not. So just want to get some thoughts on that, and go Tigers.
All right, appreciate the call, and I tell you what, look, it does come down to the money, which comes from the networks, but I think Clemson University could probably do a better job of really marketing themselves as being a night game school, and I don't think we do that enough. And one thing that disappointed me, about the new Jumbotrons is just above it are the words Clemson and Tigers on either side. Those don't even light up. Those should be backlit to let people know, look, we want to play night games. We need night games in Death Valley. It is an intimidating venue at night. The one problem that you have, and if you've ever been to a big night game at Clemson, you'll know that it is so hard to get out of Clemson. And that's a sad excuse to not have it. But I've been stuck in traffic for 2, 3, 4 hours after a game that ended at midnight, right around midnight before. And you can only imagine the people who are trying to get back to maybe Charleston, maybe trying to get back to Charlotte, maybe trying to get back to Atlanta, or going up into the mountains of North Carolina, how dangerous that can be. And I don't think that's the reason that we don't see those night games, but I do think it's the reason that we see more noon games. I really like the 3:30 starts. Anything at 6 or 7 is fine with me too. 8 o'clock is good, though, and it's a fantastic time to start a game because you've had all day to get yourself prepared for this game. You've had all day for everybody to come in. It really spreads out the travel time into the stadium. It makes getting to the game a lot easier. It makes getting out of there, for whatever reason, a lot worse. Chris says they just tailgate for 3 hours. That's what they do after the night games. You just tailgate for 3 hours. And I don't disagree with that. I know exactly where you're going with that, Chris, because that's kind of the same thing we do. Tailgating after the game is the thing to do, but then if you get into the mindset of, well, what if everybody does it? What if everybody does it? That's kind of one of those things where you end up with the same type deal. We're going to take this next question. It comes to us from Vince. Any word on Taj Boyd's status for the Wake game? Well, the last we heard on Taj Boyd is that he got just a little stinger, but he's going to be okay. The biggest problem I have is this, and I'm getting older, but an injury for me lingers a little bit. Taj Boyd is obviously in better physical shape than I am, probably better physical shape than most of us. And I thought right there at the end of the game when he had a couple of opportunities to kind of jump into the end zone to stretch Clemson's lead at the end to get it up to 38 points, that he took a couple of blows again on that joint, in that shoulder joint that was just hurting so badly. I think he's going to be okay. I really do. I don't think it's going to limit his play, but the problem is when you've got your quarterback out there, and I don't know why we continue to try to run the ball in the end zone with him after he was already a little bit hurt. You could clearly see coming off the field a wince a little bit in his face. He didn't look excited about that final touchdown. But to only have a couple of days to recoup for Wake Forest, that is something of the utmost importance, and it's got to be the biggest question mark right now for Clemson coming into that game. You know, Greg Wallace mentioned about the secondary, but probably the biggest question coming in is how is Taj Boyd's shoulder, and if he does get hit on it early in that game, will he still be able to go, or is it something that's going to nag him throughout the week? But as of right now, everything looks good for Taj Boyd. The one thing that surprised me the most, I think, Vince and everybody else, is that Clemson had already started preparing a little bit for Wake Forest. Now, I don't know if that is disrespectful in any way to Virginia Tech, but there was a time and place. There was definitely a time and place when Clemson would have not looked past the Virginia Tech ball club towards a Wake Forest ball club, even if it was on a short week's notice when you had to go and play them again on a Thursday. Got a tweet from SCAR Mames. So South Carolina Mames, basically. SCAR Mames. It's mighty quiet in SC. Is Pitchfork Ben Tillman bringing the chicken curse back? Oh, did that feel good? I have a question. Who fell faster? Who fell faster from the top? South Carolina Gamecocks? West Virginia? Or that cat in that space bubble, whatever it was, that went up in that balloon a few weeks ago. Somebody's falling pretty fast around here. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
I used to sneak downtown with my fake ID and watch Doug McCormick rock TDs on a Friday night.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. 5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
I'm working 2 jobs, and my husband works too. My kids go to school with your kids. I'm 1 out of every 6 Americans, and my family is struggling with hunger. I believe in this country, but it's hard to believe so many Americans have to choose between paying bills and feeding families. Visit feedingamerica.org and find your local food bank. Every dollar you donate helps provide 7 meals for those struggling with hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Take your business to the next level with innovative website design from Foodog Media. Foodog can handle all your web, graphic, and social media needs. Call them today, 843-864-9268. That's 843-864-9268. Mention this ad and receive 10% off of your website. Foodog is a Clemson-owned business. See their portfolio at www.foodogmedia.net. May the food be with you.
Stay tuned for a $1 million Dream Body announcement.
Do you want to lose weight? How about toning and sculpting your entire body in just 6 to 8 minutes a day? You've seen it on TV with Chuck Norris and Christy Brinkley. They love the Total Gym. Well, we're out to prove once and for all that the Total Gym melts off the pounds better than anything else on the market in just 6 to 8 minutes a day. So if you want to try it, give us a call because we're going to let up to 1 million people from across the nation try the Total Gym for just $1. If you call right now, 1-800-335-2589. That's right. The first callers right now from this station get to try the famous Total Gym for 30 days for just $1. The Total Gym will have you in the best shape of your life in just 6 to 8 minutes a day. Whether you want to firm and slenderize or build and sculpt your body, the Total Gym is the one machine that does it all. The first 50 callers from this station right now can try Total Gym for just $1 and shipping is free. Call now, 1-800-335-2589. That's 1-800-335-2589. 1-800-335-2589.
Well, it's just about that time once again for the American Red Cross and their big push in the Clemson and Carolina blood drive. And let me tell you, there's nothing more exciting than a big Clemson-South Carolina game. Before you cheer on your favorite team to victory on the football field, help them win the 28th annual Carolina-Clemson blood drive, November 12th through the 16th on USC's and Clemson's campus. Look, this is one thing that I can get down with from both sides of the equation because my wife constantly is giving blood to the Red Cross, and that is such a benefit to our society. So I just want to mention that for you. You can give blood at the University of South Carolina Russell House on Green Street Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Bloodmobiles will also be set up from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday at the Thomas Cooper Library, Tuesday and Friday at the Darla Moore School of Business, Wednesday at the Colonial Life Arena, and Thursday at the Greek Village and Carolina Coliseum. They will also be on campus at Clemson University. Clemson currently leads with 14 blood drive wins to Carolina's 13. All blood types are needed to ensure a reliable supply for patients, individuals who are 17 years of age, 16 with parental permission, weigh at least 110 pounds, and are generally in good health may be eligible to donate blood. Call 803-331-3629 or visit the redcrossblood.org/SC for more information. You got to get out there. You got to give. If you have an opportunity, if you've got, some of those, I don't know all the blood types that are, I think O positive or something is like the universal donor or the universal receiver. I don't know all the details. But go out there and give because, like they said, every single blood type they could use. Now, Dabo moves to 24-4 all-time in Death Valley and 18-0 in orange jerseys and white pants. Good for him. Exciting times for you Clemson Tiger fans. I know that's right. It was pretty odd, though, to see the offense with such small numbers. But, again, I want to say it had to go back to the fact of field position. There were so many opportunities for Clemson in this game to really blow it open, and maybe they had a couple of bad throws by Taj Boyd, couple of missed opportunities, but altogether a very clean game on the offensive side of the ball. You didn't see a whole lot of bad turnovers. The one interception by Virginia Tech may have been the best interception that I have seen this year in college football. It was a great deal of luck involved in it, no doubt. You just happen to land on your rear end and make a big interception, but clearly a big interception. All in all, though, Clemson Tiger fans, a big victory. Of course, as you all are well aware, we will be back right here on Wednesday night, 9 p.m., with TigerNet Talk. I hope you'll join us as we'll look ahead to Thursday's game against Wake Forest. We'll give our prediction, the PS3 prediction, all that and more right here on the John C. Calhoun Radio Network. I appreciate you all being with us. And as always, have a great evening. Y'all take care now. And go Tigers!